Okay, so first of all, I want to give to be very clear on this. Look, I am all for the First Amendment. I'm all for the right for protesting, and I'm all for the right in calling out these politicians. But when it comes down to this crisis that we're seeing in Gaza, that's playing out in the Middle East, I mean, I think we can both agree, Larry, as veterans ourselves, and seeing what's happening in the Middle East, peace talks need to happen, some kind of ceasefire. And
100%.
I
100%.
Here's the thing. We could sit here and pontificate, okay? I think we could sit here and pontificate on how this got out of control, but it's abundantly clear. I don't see the end in sight, unfortunately. And with what's happening in Gaza, the absolute decimation of that entire area, it is clear to me, and also by proxy, what's happening in Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, potentially, I don't know, with Iran, God forbid, that the scars of this war is going to impact us long after boomers, Gen Xers,
100%.
and millennials and Gen Z are long since departed. This is going to be an open wound. And so
this is the part that I want to bring up here that I want to make people hear. And that is the only place where you find anti-war is in independent / third parties. And it's the one thing we all agree upon. We can fight on everything else we fight on. But the one thing that we never fight on is stop bombing people. Stop fighting unnecessary wars. Stop doing this stuff. No matter whether you're far left, far right, in the middle, wherever you are, if the Democrats, Republicans, they love bombing people. But the third parties and the independent parties were like, please stop. I agree with you 100%, brother. It's got to stop 100%.
Yes, I agree. So this is a video by Hotspot in which they were able to bring this up here. So first of all, this is RFK Jr. Now, look, to be clear, when this happened, I can understand a little bit of the panic because right now I think everyone's on edge. And you know what? It's understandably so. Even I've been on edge as well. I think we've all been on edge with seeing how everything's become so grimdark. So let's first start off with this 48-second video that took place here.
I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects.
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
So the gentleman who was speaking out is one of the co-founders, Ben Cohen, who is the co-founder of the Ben & Jerry ice cream, was arrested during a protest in the U.S. Senate over military aid to Israel and humanitarian conditions in Gaza. So before we go a little bit more into this, Larry, I just want to get your thoughts on this before we go into the article in the second video, or maybe it's best we play the second video of what Ben Cohen was saying while he was being escorted out. Do you think
it's fine? Whatever you think.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pull this up here, and then I'll have you lead the way first.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and play it up
here. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
Move down the hallway. If you stop, you will be arrested. Poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Ben, what are you calling for the Congress and senators to do for Gaza?
They need to let food into Gaza. They need to let food into starving kids. Congress is paying to bomb poor kids in Gaza and paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S.
Okay. So, Larry, take it away.
My problem with this.
Okay.
Now, is what he's saying correct? Yes. I mean, he's right. That's true. What bothers me is why here? Why RFK Jr.? It's the wrong place, the wrong time. The problem is people are trying to get attention. I understand that. But you're attacking someone who doesn't have anything to do with this. He doesn't have anything to do with this, right? Whether you like RFK or not, he's not dealing with Gaza. That's not his thing. He has nothing to do with it whatsoever. So they're doing it to get attention, which just makes whatever RFK Jr. is trying to do, makes it worse. Fight the people who are trying to stop it. You know who's trying to stop this? Third parties. So why isn't he supporting a third party? Why isn't he doing what should be done, which is supporting a third party, supporting people who want to stop it? Jill Stein was trying to stop it. Why weren't they spending all their money and throwing money at Jill Stein? She was trying to stop it. She had a chance at making impact in Michigan. She had a chance at actually being the deciding factor in Michigan. Did that guy throw money at Jill Stein? I don't know, but I'm going to guarantee I would say he didn't. He didn't throw money at her. That would have made sense. What he's doing now is just hooping and hollering, and it's virtual signaling. And I think solving the problem. And I want to solve the problem, and you do that by getting to the right people in the right spot. This is not that.
I would say I think in many ways why people were protesting against RFK Jr. is probably because of his relationship with Rabbi Shmuley, and of course his stance in Gaza during his 2024 campaign. I mean, that's abundantly clear. But I think if you really want
100%,
see now with RFK Jr. speaking, I mean, I get it, high profile person, high attention. But at the end of the day, where does the buck stop? It stops with the president and his key chief advisors. And if people want a problem, or people do have a problem, it's got to go either towards, hey, protesting against Trump, which I have my criticism of these protests against Trump, but there's also the Democrat and Republican lawmakers who are owned by AIPAC. And I think the bigger thing is in the realm of protesting, because we see people on the right and people on the left do this towards high profile people. You want to bring attention to something in which maybe a high profile name, while they might be associated with by proxy, they're not the one making the final decision. And the real final decision has to go with these politicians. And I want to give a huge shout out to Sandy Weathers. Thank you so much for the super chat. I'll be acknowledging the super chats after this segment, but I think I want to give a shout out to her because this has to do with Colorado District 7. We need more high-profile names to join the fight. RFK Jr. is targeted because he's a Zionist cabinet member, and I get that.
She's not wrong. She's not wrong.
And look, that's the thing. But I think the best thing that I've seen CD7 do, and that is confront the senators and House representatives.
Yes.
And when I say confront the senators and House representatives, I mean protest in front of their buildings, and either that, more importantly, maybe get them out of office or support third parties and independent candidates.
We got Jose here in New York, who's literally going to the town halls with AOC and hooping and hollering, and it actually affected her. It actually. It affected her. And look, one of the guys in your chat said, no, Larry, any kind of protest is right. With respect, he's wrong. No, effective protesting matters because protesting takes up time, money, and energy. And people can't just protest whenever they want. So be effective in your protesting. I agree with what Sandy said. She's right. I agree. He obviously supports Israel. Clearly, RFK Jr. does. That's of all his takes, that's his worst take. I agree 100%. My point is, you want to be effective, because if you're not effective, what winds up happening is you become the person who cries wolf. Eventually, your protesting no longer works. It becomes another protester. It becomes that. You want it to be effective. You want to spend people's time, money. If you want to get people out to protest and it doesn't become effective, they stop protesting. You want you want to be effective in your protesting.
That is the thing that I've really questioned a little bit with the protesting that we see on the right and on the left. And I think I get the need to protest, and I understand the attention of bringing up what's happening in Gaza, because it's very clear that sorry about this. I posted this on yesterday's show, where Trump, after his trip to Saudi Arabia with the golden arches bringing peace.
Yes,
that's amazing. I have no idea what was going on with those golden arches. But you have Trump saying, yeah, we got to bring in aid to Gaza. Perhaps maybe Trump is having it up to here with Netanyahu and his administration, because when you look at how this whole war started on October 7th, everyone, and before the New York Times even dropped the article about the Israeli intelligence services being warned, like, hey, something's going to be happening on October 7th. Heads up, this is going to happen on October 7th. The sad truth is that, if we look back at Netanyahu, he had a lot of domestic issues impacting his administration that could have caused, if October 7th didn't happen, I mean, who knows how much further it would have escalated. Perhaps his entire administration and cabinet and party could have fallen apart. And so with Trump saying, yeah, we got to bring in aid into Gaza, well, better late than never, because if you look at the imagery right now, you're seeing hospitals getting bombed, you're seeing schools getting bombed. And while I am all on board with Ben Cohen, the co-founder of Ben and Jerry, was arrested during a protest in the U.S. Senate over military humanitarian conditions in Gaza. Protesters disrupted the hearing on Wednesday while Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. was testifying. Mr. Cohen was charged with a misdemeanor offense, while 6 other demonstrators were also arrested and faced a number of more serious charges, U.S. Capitol Police told the BBC. Congress kills poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays it off by kicking kids off of Medicaid in the U.S., he said in the video. And so, look, I'm all for his right to protest, and I'm all for it. But it starts with the House and the Senate, and I think when it comes down to with a real constructive plan, it's not reforming the Democrats. This fight the oligarchy tour that we're seeing by AOC, or what you see David Hogg doing. That's not going to work. You can't. The Democrats have AIPAC handlers. They're just like the Republicans, all right? Representative Thomas Massey, who's, I think, a libertarian or associated with the Libertarian Party in some ways, is probably one of the few congressmen and women out there that don't have an AIPAC handler. And so the thing is, focus on third parties and independents. Go ahead.
Let me give AOC, and I'm not an AOC fan. She is my congressperson. I'm not an AOC fan. However, she was affected by the local protests, and now she's doing something. It's not great. It isn't great, but it is something, right? It is getting people to think. The point is, most people in America aren't thinking about this, right? The average person is. They worry about paying their own bills, taking care of their own families, all these things. So when AOC and Bernie Sanders go out there and hoop and holler about stuff, at least now someone's going, wait a minute, maybe I should care about this. Maybe this does matter. My friends are going to this thing. Maybe this is a thing. A lot of people never heard about what oligarchy was before she's talked about it. So it's something. Look, it isn't going to solve the problem. You're correct. But if I have a choice of that or nothing, I'll take that. And not just like David Hogg. Yes, wow. I'm not a David Hogg fan either. He did a debate with Spike Cohen, one of my libertarian friends, and was slaughtered in that debate. I mean, just slaughtered in that debate. Not a huge fan. However, he is at least saying Democrats are failing. We have to go do something and change. And while, again, I'm not a Democrat, do I want people to understand and believe in change? Yes. The problem is people, there's an old saying I get all the time. I mean, a question I get all the time. Larry, when are things going to be so bad that people actually change? And I say, we know how this works. Things being bad doesn't make people change. It's called learned helplessness. People just accept failure. They accept the pain. When do they change? When there is problems and they see hope. Hope is the critical piece. When people see hope, that's when they revolt. That's when they move. That's when they change. And again, if David Hogg and AOC begin to give people hope, I'm in. Do it. It's better than nothing.
You know, I have to give my counter, my pushback to that. Look, I remember the whole idea of Bernie Sanders' campaign in 2016 and 2020, and I had that audacity of hope for Bernie and that he would be ready, especially in the 2020 election cycle. What I see the Fight the Oligarchy tour is, it's clear, yes, they're bringing in the crowds. I mean, they're going to be more successful than Cenk Uygur's Rebellion PAC or David Hogg's attempt combined together. If David Hogg and Cenk Uygur were working together, it's not even going to match what AOC and Bernie are doing. My concern is that it looks like a hopium copium to where, and I talked about this with Due Dissidents and RBN in our last post duopoly show, and that is, I see them probably lining AOC up or somebody adjacent to her. Again, I'm just going to use AOC as an example.
Go, please.
For running in a primary in 2028, and she'll be in it. She obviously the Democrats rigged their primaries, and in turn, hey everyone, we got to support the Democrat establishment pick, and everyone wasted the last 4 years and 2028 into a campaign that was never going to go forward or even challenge or raise the ruckus. That's what I see happening. And I made this joke with a lot of people. Do you have any idea how much shite we're going to get for being critical for AOC's potential 2028 run? Like that's the thing I see happening. And while I am all on board with what you see Ben Cohen doing and confronting, yes, RFK Jr. I think at the long run, you have to bring this before the senators and House representatives. You have to go to the ones in the legislature. You have to also, yes, dare I say it, protest against Trump. But my criticism of Trump is that if you're going to be protesting in front of Trump Tower, bring that energy to the U.S. senators or to the House representatives. Bring that energy to Democrat and Republican lawmakers.
Let me touch the piece that I know they all care about. Like I've met many of these people. When I ran for office, I met many of them. The thing they care about, there's a bunch of people who are in power now, and you know this, I'm sure, who actually don't like their constituents. They don't like them. They get in the way. I'm trying to make money and get shit done. Why do these voters get in my way? Now, what do they care about? Do they care about AIPAC? No, they care about their seat. They are worried about AIPAC because they will lose their seat. To your point exactly, Kit, if they stop believing they will lose their seat, they will change their minds. The majority of these people actually aren't ideologues. They actually aren't ideologues, right? Look at someone like in my state, Cuomo. Andrew Cuomo
is your best friend.
He's not an actual Democrat. By name, he's Democrat, but he's a Cuomoist. He'd be a Republican tomorrow. He'd be a Libertarian tomorrow. He'd be a Green Party tomorrow. He'd be a whatever. He doesn't care. What will get him in, what does he believe will get him into office? That's what he is. And I think that part is a critical piece that most people are that way. If this is the advantage I'll give to Trump. Clearly, I'm not a Trump fan. However, I'll give him this. He is utterly transactional. Would he do something that would be good for America? Sure. If it was a transaction, he got something from it, not because he cares, but because he would get something from it. That can be an advantage if you know how to use him. It can be. Would he do something libertarian? Would he make peace? I think, and this is going to sound crazy for some of you guys who hate Trump, I think he honestly wants to have peace in the Middle East and in Ukraine. But not because he cares about the people. He doesn't at all. I think, and it's going to sound crazy, I think he honestly wants a Nobel Peace Prize because he wants to beat Obama because he wants to get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think you're right on that one. Yeah.
Yes. Not because he cares about the people. He does not care about the people, but he'll do it. And if he were to do it, I'm not saying he can. If he were to actually do it, I'd give him credit. Well done. You made the peace. Awesome. Here's your peace prize. Feel good about yourself, man. Life is good. Just solve the problem. And I think the reality was if we could get people to actually fear losing their seat, we could get some action. I don't think the Democratic Party can do it. I think you're right. My hope isn't that David Hogg will be successful and reform the Democratic Party. I don't believe that for a minute. My hope isn't that AOC will all of a sudden be the greatest president of all time. I don't think that. I don't believe that. But do I hope it will inspire people to actually run independent? And I think it may, and here's my example of this. RFK Jr. last year. Now, a lot of people don't like RFK. I get it. But he did run independent because the Democratic Party pushed him out. And if we can get more people to do that, we got a shot.
I would say for 2024, and I'll leave this for third parties. I would say I was very impressed with the amount of media coverage third parties got in comparison to 2016 and 2020. I would say many of the campaigns left much to be desired for.
Sure. Yes.
The Greens obviously were confused with Cornel West and Jill Stein. Look, nothing against the Green Party. I love you guys, but there was a lot of confusion there. There was the situation with Cornel West and the People's Party and how he ran, and then eventually his own thing. Then you had the Libertarian Party. I love the Libertarians. Again, much to be desired for. And then, of course, there was, and look, an argument can be made. RFK Jr. of all the third-party independent candidates that was running, his campaign, he should have done it from the get-go, from the beginning, in my opinion, and not run the Democrat primary. But if something like that can be mimicked, fine. The only caveat is you have to have someone with the money and name recognition to do so, to be effective. And I don't know what that's going to look like in 2028. But if anything, if the Greens and Libertarians are listening, and I think, Larry, you have been on point, because we've talked in private about what needs to be done. I think your counsel, your advice in regards to how third parties can gain more ground should be listened more.
Yes.
And finally, if we want to have like a ceasefire, peace, maybe actually deal with the issues, it's time for people to, yes, protest against Democrats and Republicans, but also invest into third parties and independents, because that's the road we have to go down. So I think that's a good note to end it on. And everyone, look, 2028 is years. It's going to be a couple of years from now, but don't worry, we got 2026, the midterms. So
yes,
that's going to be fun.
They're gonna punish us with that one first. Yes,
exactly.
So your chat is talking about the multiple marches, Million Man marches and such.
Yeah,
and the marches only matter if, again, to one point, if they believe they're going to lose their seat. I don't care if 5 billion people march. If they don't believe they're going to lose their seat, it does not matter.
Yeah.
If one person marches or a gazillion march, do they think they might lose their seat, their power? If they think, I'm not going to lose my power, let them march. They don't care. All they care about is their seat. That's the key piece.
Agreed.